the way I look, which I did not choose. I did not win a lottery shooting craps in the womb and like let me get them eyes, let me get them eyes, let me get these freckles, let me get this color skin. Like I didn't earn that. That's got nothing to do with me.
What's good, people, and welcome back on the channel. How are you doing? If you are joining for the very first time, thank you so much for tuning in. In today's video, we are going to be checking out this video this creator made, talking about when is it okay for biracial people to actually speak up. And this is bringing out biracial people's own story, biracial people's story, and how they have had to struggle with their identity because one, they are not accepted here because they feel like they are not white enough. And on the other side as well, some people don't consider them black enough. So there has always been that struggle of identity for them. But when exactly is it okay for them to actually speak up on their identity struggle? This guy is bringing up this conversation, and a lot of biracial people are coming hard on this one. So without wasting much time, let's get right into what this guy have to say, and as well what other biracial people are saying about the identity struggle.
So please don't beat me for this, but I have a genuine question. When is it okay for biracial people to talk about their identity struggles? Listen. I know it can be kind of funny. I know the poetry is hilarious. I know it's like, octoroons and quadroons talking about how they too black for this and too white for that. I know they can be anti-black. I know it's bigger fish to fry. But like, I can understand being biracial and having that mess with your head, especially if you're experiencing racism from your white family members, if maybe you don't feel accepted by your black family like, I can see where the woes would come from. And maybe their issues aren't like the most pressing issues in the black community, but like, their feelings and like the things that they have to go through is still their truth. You know what I mean? But every time a biracial person, whether they're biracial, they octoroon, quadroon, hexaroon, anytime, they talk about their struggles, like they be so dead ass, like they're so like in pain, like, we're all just like, boo, tomato. And it's just like I hear it, like I get it, like I be laughing too, but like, I do think they go through some things. Like, when is a good time for them to talk about it? Maybe not Black History Month, but like, can we make space for biracial stories, or have we made enough space? Like, I know they take up a lot of airtime, like, TV, movies, the ambiguous blacks, but like, I don't know, man. I'm just like, like, they're obviously going through something enough to want to talk about it, and we just laugh in their face. Like, what can we do about this?
What do you guys think about his video? It seems like he's actually very genuine. Maybe he has been in the room with biracial people where they have been talking about their struggles, and it seems like he's actually been concerned about his biracial friends talking about their struggle and how they are not even being heard because they believe some part think they are not white enough to be called white, and others as well think they are not black enough to be called black. So, but for real, when do you guys think it's okay for these people to talk about their struggles? I saw so many comments of some people saying, oh, they don't see us important enough in both communities to even have conversations. But I am going to roll the clip of interesting stitch to this video. People are literally coming in from different angles. So without wasting much time, just sit back and let's get into what the people have to say about the biracial people's identity struggle.
So please don't beat me for this, but I have a genuine question.
I'm just gonna say what everybody wants to say but won't say for whatever reason. So majority of Black Americans simply just do not care about biracial people's struggles because they don't think their struggles exist. That's it. It's nothing deeper than that. Now, me personally, I don't care. Feel how you want to feel. That's your personal experience. I can't stop you from feeling that way. As a sheltered, nerdy black kid, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend as if there weren't moments in my life where I felt like I didn't fit in. But also, I realize nobody gives a fuck. So, I just keep on moving, bro. But where it gets insane is the shit like the fucking biracial lounge. Like, dog, a quadroon? What the fuck is a quadroon? Obama is a mulatto. Shit like this makes people just get annoyed with y'all, bro. It's deeply unserious and it needs to fucking stop. And I think something that we need to highlight is, bro, sometimes you have to deal with stuff on your own on your own time, alone, bro. Not everything is meant to be shared with the world at all times. People are dealing with their own struggles and their own shit. Not everybody's trying to hear that. Like, I'm quite sure Logic and all the other biracials are going through such a hard time in life. But at a certain point, it's like, yo, you gotta grow up, get past whatever childhood trauma you have, and just move on, or at least deal with it, dog. Go to a therapist. Hopping on TikTok is not dealing with it, right? Making a podcast about it is not dealing with it. Performing slam poetry about it is not dealing with it. Like, genuinely sit and deal with it.
When is it okay for biracial people to talk about?
Go watch that video, but if you don't feel like it, they're basically asking when it's okay for biracial people to talk about their identity struggles, and I wanted to help answer this with a clip from Jesse Williams that I think will be very enlightening.
I just get a little disinterested in like the tragic mulatto story. Because like that's not the hard part. Yeah. And maybe I'm an asshole. But like it just doesn't. That doesn't. Tragic mulatto. Well, that's a real. There's 5 categories. Paul Bogle wrote a book called Toms, Coons, Mulattoes, Mammies, and Bucks. There's like the 5 or 6, whatever number that was, the names I just said, of roles that black people have played throughout the history of cinema. Mm-hmm. Right, you're either a Tom, a Coon, a Mammy, a Mulatto, or a Buck. And these are tropes that we've adapted. And yes, if you're I'm not a girl, but I've heard a lot, like, if you're a light-skinned girl, like, maybe the black girls don't fuck with you, or they think that you think you're better than... Right. Okay, but the world also thinks you're better than and treats you better. Mm-hmm. So, like, what's the math we're doing right now? Like, it's not a net loss. But you need to overcome. You need to figure out a way to be sensitive to that. I know that, like, I've got treated a certain way and get attention from girls because of the way I look, which I did not choose. I did not win a lottery shooting craps in the womb and like let me get them eyes, let me get these freckles, let me get this color skin. Like, I didn't earn that. That's got nothing to do with me. But I know that I'm gonna have a better deal, so I can be more sensitive to that fact. I'm not gonna whine about how dark-skinned people treat me worse. Like, that's just a weird way to expend my energy. And who's that for?
Right.
Like, I'm more interested in black liberation than, like, light-skinned storytelling. I love it. That's my experience. Other people have had completely different experiences. Yeah. I feel, I'm aware that it's going to come off kind of crass and insensitive, but I just want to... I don't like to dive down. That's not a portal. I've got 5 other focuses. Yeah. Like, light-skin struggle ain't it.
That ain't it. For me. The tragic mulatto. And not.
I think you get the point. And you know how I feel about positioning celebrities as intellectual leaders, but I think the context of Jesse Williams being an English teacher, an American Studies teacher, and an African American Studies teacher before becoming an actor gives perfect context for what he's saying and what authority he's standing on. My issue with the whole quadroon thing is we're constantly revisiting this trope of black people being exclusionary to the struggles of biracials within our community. But nothing productive ever comes of that. Instead of leveraging the position that white society has dictated for you to further black struggles, you're sitting here talking about how we make you feel excluded. And like Jesse Williams was saying, who does that really serve? Because it doesn't serve us. So to answer your question, yes, biracial people can talk about their identity struggles, but to what end is what we need to be asking.
Okay for biracial people to talk about their identity struggle.
Hi, I'm a black, white, biracial, amongst other things. And it is okay to talk about our struggles because we've already done it. There's been a lot of representation of the struggle of being black, white, biracial. There's a lot of movies about it, a lot of TV shows, a lot of books. We've been through it. We've all done it. I think that we're good. We can close the book on that chapter. We can put a period at the end of that sentence because we've already taken up a lot of space and a lot of representation from the black community, the fully black community, of which we don't represent. And so I think we're good. I think we can fully be done. And the black, white, biracial people who are being silly on the internet need to get it together. Get it together because you're making us look bad.
Okay for biracial people to talk about their identity struggles.
I'm a Midwestern suburban biracial, and so I can only speak from my own experience. But I think biracial people would be better off in general if they understood that the things that they're dealing with internally aren't like an inherent biracial plight. We're not the only ones who struggle to like fit within a racial binary. I was talking to a friend over the weekend. She's Black, she's monoracial, but for most of her life, she's been called an Oreo or white by her family members because she went to boarding schools. She talks white. She is interested in books. You know, she watches a variety of media, some of which include Black people, some of which don't. And I'm sure there are Black people on this app who are talking about their Blackness being policed because of the way that they dress or talk or who they interact with on a regular basis or the types of media and entertainment they consume. I do think that there are some experiences that are inherently specific to biracial people, but I think until we stop centering our whiteness or using traits that are rooted in whiteness, like centering yourself when it's not appropriate, playing the victim card, like having a victim mentality when you're talking about those experiences, we're not going to get anywhere, and we're going to continue to use the same verbiage that is so tired and so cliche and really doesn't resonate with me, and it doesn't get to the heart of what it means to be a biracial person. The conversation is going to continue to be very unproductive. Like, when we're talking about not being white enough, we're talking about acclimating to whiteness or feeling a compulsion to acclimate to whiteness, which is something that, again, not all biracial, or not just biracial people experience. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay, be nice in the comments.
When is it okay for biracial people to talk about their identity struggles?
All right, I'm going to try to talk about it without being annoying. I think first things first, we have to establish the fact that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, it matters. It matters in the context of, like, white supremacy as a whole. If we look at the context of, like, the Black struggle, it is a facet of how white supremacy affects Black people in a day-to-day. But that's the thing. It's just a piece. We gotta get intersectional with it. We gotta understand that this little piece of white supremacy is fed by colorism and fed by texturism and fed by, like, your own self-hatred. All of these facets of white supremacy is what feeds into this specific thing. And all of these systems of oppression, if we look at the scope of them, the issue with colorism isn't the light skin struggle. Like, yes, growing up between two separate cultures, and this is the corny part, it has its own unique set of struggles, right? You get some of this and you get some of that, but you miss some of this and you miss some of that, all right? Nobody's taking that away from you, okay? I think at the crux of the issue, though, is who are you blaming for that, right? Are you blaming Black people and saying that they don't like you? Or are you blaming white supremacy for you thinking that they never could?
When is it okay for biracial people to talk about?
So I am biracial. I know doesn't look like it, but my mother is Black and my father is white, and I was raised primarily by my mom, which I think has lent itself to the way that I think about things in different ways than if I had been raised by a white person. But for me personally, for where I am in my life, it was different when I was like 20. Now I'm almost 30, but I just don't see the value in centering myself in a conversation that has nothing to do with me. And I think that within the biracial community, our experiences are absolutely valid, but there's just this need to kind of compare them directly to other Black people who are experiencing racism and hatred in ways that we never will. And that's where the problem is, because it's like trying to fit in by holding on to, the shots that we do take with little to no thought for what our privilege is sparing us from. I don't walk into my life, like into my day-to-day life, worrying about how people are going to perceive me because of the color of my skin. My mom does. Her siblings do or did. My cousins do. But that's just not something that I experience, and it's not something I ever will. And, when I was younger, I never saw a difference between myself and my mother, but other people very quickly pointed that out to me. White people, I should add. And I think that's another problem, is that people are putting the onus on the Black community with this conversation about being biracial, instead of putting it on white people and white supremacy and what that effect, like that is the poison. That's the issue. That's what's causing the problem. but anyways, that's why I think people are getting really sick of the whole like tragic biracial shtick, because there's just like this desperation to feel a part of a community, and that desperation is rooted in some kind of ignorance on its own. Like you can be biracial, like you can feel connected to like the Black community, and you can feel connected to the white community too if you want to. It's just how you choose to go through life. But to act like we're experiencing, or that the things that we experience are at the same level as like the same level of racism as other Black people is just, it's delusional. And it's valid too. Like those feelings of wanting to fit in or feel like we belong are valid, but they should not be centered in Black spaces. And I think that's just like the crux of it. Like, it's like we're trying to go for gold in the Oppression Olympics instead of just taking a seat when we need to, or finding ways to healthily talk about our experiences. I don't know. It's so twisted. It's twisted. There isn't really an answer, you know. I think at the end of the day, that's just kind of what it is. I don't know.
What do you guys think about these stitches? I would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I feel like the part that got me the most was where the other guy was talking about who are we going to blame for this? Are we going to blame the Black people for not accepting us, or we're going to be blaming the white supremacy for whatever it is that it has caused? So I would like to hear what you guys think about this in the comment section. There was another lady talking about how it is the white looking biracials that have issues or talk so much or are very insensitive about this. There are movies that have been presented towards the struggle of biracial people, but the Black looking ones don't really have issues, but the white ones are the one with the issues. So they all have different points. And the other guy as well talk about how nobody really cares. You just have to pick your stuff and get on with your life. Let me hear what you guys think about what the host said. So share your thoughts in the comment section. Let's continue this conversation there. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe before you go and turn your bell notification on. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys. See you later.